All right. We are good whenever you're good. So start.
We were somewhere around Barstow when the drunk began to take hold. Okay, so we're doing Mezcal instead of some sort of drug, but we all know what Mexican spirits will do. So buckle up and join us on our journey as we take a shot at this episode and have a drink. We can't stop here. This is worm country.
Welcome to Have a Drink, the show where you learn along with us about what you drink. I'm Brittany Lee Walker.
I'm Justin Frazier.
I'm Christopher Walker.
And I'm Casey Price.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, howdy, hey.
How's everybody doing?
Pretty nice.
A bit tired, but enjoying the Mexican scotch.
That's
Spoilers.
settled. So, we've all been up to quite a bit.
I know what you're talking about. It's been pretty unremarkable.
Life events happening in the last month.
No, pretty unremarkable. What have you guys been up to?
You're lucky that someone isn't there to hear you say that.
Thankfully, she'll never know. Yeah. I did get married. If you don't see my hands on screen, I'm spinning a ring around my finger because I can't stop playing with it.
Is it a fidget ring specifically?
No, but it's become that.
Gotta be a thing,
right? No. We had the wedding last month, a couple weeks back, and I actually just got back from the honeymoon this week because the wife is a teacher, and making the days line up for vacations got tricky when they changed when their fall break was after we scheduled the wedding. So too many things were already put in place. We were just like, no, we'll go ahead with the wedding. We'll just honeymoon a little later.
To be fair, our honeymoon was like 3 months after our wedding. So.
Yeah. And we just went down to Atlanta, saw some went to some zoos, some aquariums. There was 420 Sweetwater, Sweetwater? Yeah, Sweetwater IPA just as far as the eye can see. So like first night we go have some dinner at some Italian place. And I'm sitting there trying to be good with like a water, trying to watch my girlish figure. And after a minute I was like, nah, bring me a beer. I'm out of the tux now. Yeah, and we all saw each other in person because some of these people were, some of these hosts were in the wedding.
Brittany, of them were almost crashing the reception because I think I was the only one brave enough to go back for seconds. No one else was. I was like, I don't know what you all are talking about. There's Chick-fil-A up there. I was like, there's just an open thing and Chick-fil-A sauce. I was like, you can't eat here,
right?
The bowl of Chick-fil-A sauce.
Mm-hmm. The fun bit of my mother-in-law working marketing for Chick-fil-A was it was really easy to set up a catering order for Chick-fil-A for the wedding, and everyone seemed to really appreciate I swear to God, hand to God, thought we were gonna get like individually like wrapped baggies of chicken nuggets. Like you would order it from there, and I'd have been fine. And all of a sudden, out there, like, oh yeah, they're right here in this dish. You just spoon out what you need. And I was like, when did we get fancy? I was just gonna get a bag.
And no, the way it was set up is the Chick-fil-A sauce is right between the nuggets and the salad. And then I had to look around. I was like, can I just put the Chick-fil-A sauce on the salad as salad dressing? Is anyone? No one's gonna. Okay, no one's calling me out on this. So we're just going for it.
If anything, someone would have been like, brilliant.
Yeah.
Great idea.
But we had it was a really good time. I was very thankful that Casey and Chris were part of the wedding, and Brittany, we loved having you down there as well. It's one of those two. I was like, how can I get Brittany in the wedding? There was discussion if we wanted to have like Emmett or Frank as like the ring bearer for the wedding, and I was like, no, those two will run. Yeah, that they will either be absolutely adorable or cause nothing but chaos.
Well,
Yes.
Emmett decided to come down with a fever the night before. So yeah,
he got healthy just long enough to be at the wedding.
And
It
then at
was near the
that-
end of the wedding. I was like, oh crap, he's getting like really, really, really hot.
And he's had the cough for like it just let up like 2 days. He's had 2 good nights of rest now. He had a cough for weeks. It has been vicious. No fever. The fever went away, but the cough would not.
Well, also, I will say, I hope this is the last time I podcast from this apartment because I did not have time to move all of my stuff to the house. So we made a special drive out here to do this. So I have to be careful tonight.
Is a lonely bottle of tequila.
Poor tequila.
Yeah, that's the other sad thing. Like my whole liquor shelf is empty. Like they're in boxes in a different room.
You've got a bed back there. You don't have to go home.
I do have to go home.
No.
This is how I get in trouble.
You go, I'm being responsible and staying here since I've been drinking.
Is this the whole you don't have to go home, but you can stay here?
You don't have to go home, but you better not go anywhere else.
Right. No, we're gonna take it easy tonight on this end. We'll get riggedy wrecked next episode. We will not.
Next episode is Merlort.
I had to put a bottle of that in a box because I was like half tempted just to leave it here for whoever moved in next. Just like Merry Christmas. Like, you know, like you move into a place like when we first moved here, they put in they left us like a little box of brownies to make your own brownies. Just put up a thing of Malort and just says go away.
I was gonna say that's just rude.
It's haunted.
Go fuck yourself like a bottle of Malort.
But yeah, that's I will say there's one thing I wish I could have done when I was down in Atlanta. We saw a lot of cool stuff. The wife got to I got to have an encounter with a beluga whale. Like feed it, pet it, play with it, that sort of stuff. But I was not allowed to go, so I just got to watch sea lions play. So we're both good. But no, because we were kind of packed in, doing a bunch of stuff, and I do recommend the Atlanta City Pass if you're down there. Bunch of museums and other sort of attractions all at once. You can get like 5 different visits out of stuff on one purchase. But did not get to stop by a liquor store like I'd like to do whenever I'm out of town, because I'd like to go in there and see what their distro is.
Yeah.
And just look
Lay
that.
of the land.
Well, and you never know. You're gonna look in there and go, Firestone Walker, get in here. Just
Or you look in there and go, wow, they carry an amazing selection of bourbon that I can't find at home.
yeah. Because the cobbler's children have no shoes. I said that. I've said that many times to my wife, and she goes, "What are you talking about?" apparently I'm full of country aphorisms and other sayings that no one knows what I mean.
That's not just a.
It's
Just
not a
happens
country
that
thing, I
that
know.
country
But
happens to be 1800s England.
correct.
That's all.
I didn't say it was this country.
The mother country.
Other country. How about you guys? What have you been up to?
Well, going to your wedding
Mm.
and work.
I had
Yeah.
a lovely day yesterday.
Somebody's birthday.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's what I was meant to send this episode. It's like, oh, that's right.
Well, and it works out. I've decided now, like for going forward, I was like, I'm not that I ever want to leave, but like I never need to get a new job because we get World Mental Health Day off as a corporate holiday for this job, and that was yesterday, and I find it very fitting that Mental Health Day comes around the day before, day of my birthday,
Nice.
and so I went yesterday, and I like up until 5 p.m. It was like a blissful day of I went to up to the first watch in Cincinnati, just ate my fall breakfast by myself, went over to the town center, went to Trader Joe's, like
The
I played with all the
center's-
iPhones at the Apple store.
The town center is the most expensive mall in the region. It's like
I mean, there's an
all-
Apple store in it.
Well, there's apples. What else? There's a
There's a Gucci
Nordstrom.
store. There's
Yeah.
all
No,
the
you
big
can't
brands.
have that kind of store, Brittany. That's illegal. There's prostitution laws against
all the design
Gucci.
think of have their own store there. Basically,
There's a Lego store there that
Yeah.
has its own velvet rope, and
There are because it's too small. Honestly,
there's
I
a
don't know why they
line
have
and a
that
wait
space.
list to get into that Lego store.
Yeah.
No joke.
But I hit up all the places that I could for free birthday things. Went to Sephora, got my free gift. Torrid, spent Torrid cash. I'm like, we're milking this. My Starbucks thing, thankfully, doesn't run out till tomorrow, so I'm getting a free Starbucks tomorrow.
So tomorrow she'll get the last out of that.
Today I got a
Raw.
free smoothie from Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
That
Fantastic.
birthday teat is all raw, and she's gonna get the last.
Hey, that's what you do. You got to sign up for this stuff. But yeah, it's it's been great. And aside from normal life stuff, my favorite show of all time is what I'm calling it from now on. Came out.
Orphan Black.
Well, this has replaced it actually.
She didn't
I
latch
know.
on to the new Orphan Black.
Yeah,
Series.
I actually got horrible reviews.
Did it not have the same person?
No, it's supposed
No.
to take place like years in the future.
Oh, then never mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the clones are different.
Well, not even that really. But no, Heartstopper on Netflix season 3 hit. And because of the weird way I don't know what happened with that. It came out at midnight, as normal things would. Pacific time. So I woke up at 3 a.m. Eastern time and just had my apparently you can hook your Roku sound up to your through your phone and use headphones, which is fascinating. So I did that, and then when he woke up, I was on the next to last episode. I'm sitting there like just an emotional disaster.
She's crying. It's like 4 a.m, and I'm making coffee, and I'm just like done with the
I'm like
world.
with the tissues, and I've got my stuffy. I was like, no, I came prepared. I know what this is about. But yeah, it's such a good show. Oh God.
But no, crying does not feel like the appropriate response after a show that you enjoy.
It's a like a tender, like wholesome.
It's kind of what I told her. Unless it's I can't remember. Unless it's the episode of Game of Thrones when we watch the origin and death of Hodor. And then so I was like, I ugly cried for weeks over that. Like, I will never forget that. Like, I was inconsolable, ugly crying. He's like,
well, this season of Heartstopper dealt with
Hodor.
eating disorders and mental health and so
And we dealt
really
with
good.
Hodor being mentally messed up because Bran couldn't control his gift and sucks at being the three-eyed raven. So he
Right.
destroyed poor Hodor. And
Look, Game of Thrones is a whole different beast. I'm just saying, show came out, very happy. Nice ending. I needed to come back.
Okay.
Anyway.
Casey,
I have nothing.
there's been nothing.
I don't leave the house much now. I play
Yeah.
Magic once or twice a week.
Not leaving the house sounds great. I do realize that I've got training at work on Monday, so which is a half day because the bank is closed for Indigenous Peoples Day.
which,
Sick.
yes, this is our another one of our accidental scheduling where we're like, oh, we actually scheduled an episode that's on topic for a public holiday. It's like, this is our Indigenous Peoples special because Mezcal.
Yeah, and because Columbus doesn't deserve to be celebrated.
It's just a giant middle finger to Columbus. I'm like, okay, we did good. Yay, us again.
Do you think history
Send
would
the
have been?
invaders home.
I think history would have been, different or better if they had treated Columbus like they treated Magellan. Just
Maybe. Yeah, Magellan was not celebrated in his own time.
Where does the whole everything happens for a reason philosophy fall with this? Like those two things seem to juxtapose
yeah,
each
like
other.
I would say, like everything happens for a reason. Really, conquistadors?
The
Is that reason that mankind is horrible?
Columbian exchange was rather one-sided.
We give you disease
You give us potatoes and tomatoes.
and chocolate.
Yes. I immediately go to story pots with that. Like deranged.
Like a frog or something?
Yeah, he's like a frog that's almost Rafiki. Yeah, it's a really out there episode because he's taking them on. He's like their Sherpa on an acid trip over how coffee or chocolate is made.
Oh,
Eating the cacao beans.
Yeah, the cacao beans. And he like literally leads them through an acid trip. And at the end, they're all like, what just happened? Because they go through the fermentation of the beans.
oh,
Sorry, when I think of like children's acid trips, my standards are pink elephants from Dumbo and Heffalumps and Woozles.
Everyone's whistles the first thing I thought.
Oh, yeah, because for our generation, it's like that was, well, yeah, that was the first time when it was just like, what am I watching?
It wasn't as terrifying as Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and the River Ride.
Mm.
Yeah.
Where Gene Wilder did not tell anyone he was going to start speaking.
And everyone's just like, what's happening?
All right. Well, let's get on to the episode.
We're not that drunk. Cheeky bastards! We're not that drunk! We're not that drunk! We're not that drunk!
Give me time because
Give me your man. Oh, sorry.
look, we're just starting and I'm going for a refill.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's a good idea.
let's get something out of the way. Just right at the top of the show, the worm. Not Dr. Worm, which is a fantastic They Might Be Giants song.
Das Firm!
The worm is actually
from the 80s, and it, oh, no,
no.
Oh, okay.
The worm itself is actually moth larvae called Gusano de Maguey.
I was just saying Mogwai. That was just,
Mowgli.
I know it's not right, but in my head, I was just like, Mogwai.
Since it feeds off the maguey plant. Curds and maguey.
I mean,
Sure. If they weren't being drowned in booze, each of these little guys would actually turn into a night butterfly called the mariposa. And believe it or not, Gusano de Maguey are eaten without tequila or any double dog daring on the regular in Mexico. per vine pair. Some think the worm in the bottle started as a marketing ploy to get people to drink more mezcal in the 1940s and 50s. Word has it a former art student turned mezcal entrepreneur named Jacobo Lozano Paez got the idea to actually put the Gasano in the bottle of finished mezcal after realizing the Gasano changed the flavor of the spirit. Since Gasano feeds the maguey plant, it happened that sometimes a heart would be roasted in the worms with it. And this is, again, supposedly where Paez got the idea. There's also the possibility it's purely a marketing angle aimed at the American market. I don't see how. The Americans are not enticed by worms in their bottles.
I mean, it became like one of the greatest alcohol myths and urban legends out there.
True.
Listen,
Yep,
it was not, I'm sure, the first time, and it definitely isn't the last time that a south of the border beverage company has tried putting things in their bottles that don't belong there. And
Constellation, they put glass in your drink.
they thought it was going to be a great marketing ploy, like the worm. They were like, worms are bad. They put it in. They like it. Glass is bad. They put it. We can put it in. They don't like it. Why don't they like it?
It's like
It's basically sand, isn't it? Doesn't it make it more tropical?
no. Hate sand. It's terrible.
It's
Coarse and rough. It gets it everywhere.
Okay, Anakin, calm down. Aside there, I guess I just read that there's rumors afloat we might get Kenobi season 2.
Well, there's evidence. Let's go on to the actual topic. There's evidence that alcohol is derived from agave being made in Mexico as far back as 280. Initially, it was in the form of pulque, fermented raw agave sap. Man,
That's
that on your pancakes.
I was gonna say that. Oh yeah, baby. That's we've gotten several times like agave syrup and used it on things cooking, and it's amazing.
So this is just a little weird aside, but when I was a kid at my grandmother's, occasionally she would run out of maple syrup for pancakes. You know, we would put on it instead.
Oh,
Karo syrup.
yeah.
Yep.
That's the redneck way of things.
And I told that to people up here and my wife, and they're all like, "Oh," and I'm like, it was delicious. It was just so sweet.
Yeah.
We'd also
syrup. I use honey.
I said we'd also use that for peanut butter sandwiches.
Yep.
Peanut butter and some
Another
school lunches with peanut butter and syrup sandwiches.
Right before this, you were like, I'm gonna make a snack, and I just looked at Brittany. I was like, we don't have any snacks, and for whatever reason, I was just like, Bob is killing me because right now I want a bologna sandwich more than anything. I was like, the greatest snack right now would be a bologna sandwich.
I'm sorry.
We have nary the bologna.
Not a single bologna. Well, at some point, the pulque evolved into spirits distilled into spirits distilled from fermented cooked agave, which became known as mezcal or vino de mezcal. It's wine of mezcal. A little entomology. The word mezcal is derived from two indigenous Mexican Nahuatl languages, cooked and agave. And initially, mezcal was used to denote any agave distillate where agave was cooked, fermented, and then distilled. This would include modern-day tequila.
Yeah, I don't think I included it here, but it's still like to this day, like so it's divided by regions, and the regions where mezcal is under where mezcal is king, they do not recognize tequila because tequila is just it just falls under the umbrella to them, but it's just like a kind of a lesser. So it's like, as a Kentuckian, There's bottles in bond, and then there's like everything else.
What if someone goes down to a bar in these regions of Mexico and you start hearing ba-bam-ba-da-ba-da-bam-bam, ba-ba-da-ba-da-bam.
Look, I fought.
What do they
Mescal.
shout out? Okay.
Mescal. Mescal. And that's how you know you're in a great place.
Well, the earliest written reference to mezcal is from 1608, nearly 100 years after the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors, which was generally regarded as a bad time.
And in my head doing this, I just saw the fallout. Everyone disliked that.
Everyone but Spain disliked that. It has therefore been assumed that the Spanish introduced distillation. There's an open debate whether mezcal existed prior to this, given the widespread use of agave as a source of alcohol in pulque, and evidence of pre-Columbian distillation. There's a strong case that it did, but there's no explicit evidence of distillation of agave. And it's also strange that there's no written reference, given that the writing was a common practice and highly developed. In any case, mezcal was established in the 17th century. In order to understand the history of mezcal, it's important to understand the history of tequila and where they parted ways. I felt I got very how it's made in that sentence.
Boom, boom.
That should be our background music. Some kind of
Yeah.
very
God, if only we had like just an image of just industrial, like distilling going on behind us.
talk you can go to that.
I'm sure there's some copyright free B-roll.
Or we could just go out and get our own.
In the late 17th century, in the town of Tequila, in the state of Jalisco, a Spanish nobleman, Pedro Sanchez de Talge, became the first person to mass produce mezcal, an industry that was built in the area and taxed by the local governor. By the mid-18th century, the Cuevo family, that name's familiar, were given the first official license to commercially produce mezcal by the Spanish king Carlos IV. This protected their interests through periods of prohibition and cemented mezcal from tequila as the preeminent distillate in Mexico. To differentiate them from smaller, often illegal operations, these mezcals became known as tequila extract, shortened to tequila by the Salsa family. Oh, Salsa. And remember that's the Salsa tequila
There's
from the top bottom shelf?
there should be some names in that paragraph that are definitely ringing bells, some alarm bells.
Well, the Salsa family began exporting it to the United States in the late 19th century, just trying to offload it. It was a bad batch then, and it's a bad batch now. Salsa are also credited for identifying the blue agave as the ideal base for tequila.
I mean, yeah. So by the mid 1900s, tequila was big business. In order to protect the industry, the Mexican government created cartels. I mean, the tequila denomination of origin, the DO or the DO, just to shorten things, because we will say that a lot moving forward. Also, as a just notice to fellow presenters, you do not have to say tequila domination of origin every time you see the DO.
Okay.
But it came about in the 1970s, pretty recent. Stated that tequila can be made in 5 states, centered on and dominated by the state of Jalisco, and that fermented sugars must derive from 51% blue agave, meaning up to 49% can come from other sources. Normally refined sugar with a large allowance for additives. Modern tequila was born.
So the other states, are they like Texas, New Mexico?
These are Mexican states.
Right, New Mexico.
Meanwhile, outside of the 5 states of the tequila, DO agave spirits continue to be known as mezcal. It's kind of as I was hinting at before, that in the mezcal regions,
They are
Now, following the success of tequila, there was some effort made to commercialize mezcal in the mid 1900s, but the results were unconvincing. The process was rushed, and without the allure of the name tequila, these industrial mezcals, such as Guasano Rojo and Monte Alban, were aimed at the bottom of the market, cutting corners and focusing on marketing gimmicks, such as the infamous worm mentioned earlier, rather than quality of the juice.
The juice.
That seems like a weird phrase altogether.
Mezcal became the dare shot, considered in urban Mexico and the U.S. more of a punishment than a pleasure. Now that that place is held by Malort
and Fernet and other.
I'll drink
other
a Fernet.
No.
Little Fernet Branca.
No.
Little minty.
No.
But outside of the urban area,
Brush my teeth to that.
in the mountains where roadless communities had existed virtually unchanged for centuries, real artisanal mezcal was still being made. These mezcals are made without any modern equipment. Organically grown agave are cooked in fire-powered pit ovens, crushed by hand or by animals, fermented with local airborne yeasts. They're going old school.
Wild.
And distilled in either copper or clay pots, heated on an open fire. Measurements and decisions are made by the experienced mezcalerio, relying solely on taste, touch, and smell, a skill passed down through the generations from father to son. The results of this process are amazing. Unsurprisingly, the small scale and artisanal methods create more depth and variety. But beyond this, something about the handmade process and lack of measurements gives the liquid a real sense of soul with all its inconsistencies and delicious imperfections.
You know, mezcal. Follow your heart.
It's all those, dents in the copper pots. You're going to do dents in a clay pot. That just
Not with that attitude, you can't.
just kind of breaks it.
I mean, you can. You just have to do the dent before it becomes like hardened clay.
So the denomination of origin. So let's actually dive a little into that. The do in the late 1990s, artisanal mezcal started to get recognized as complex, sophisticated spirits and became highly sought after in both Mexico and the U.S. In 1997, mezcal was granted denomination of origin status, greatly restricting legal and commercial use of the word. Currently, mezcal can be legally produced in only 9 Mexican states and must be certified by the Consejo Regulador. Regulador. I added an extra no. Del Mezcal, or CRM. Why? Okay.
That's a different thing in the banking industry. So I suddenly just went, wait, what?
In most business.
While the do status,
God.
status can be seen, can be a net positive for many mezcalerios. Hundreds of traditional producers fall outside the do and are legally prohibited from calling their mezcal by its name. The states in the do are, why did I do this? Oaxaca, Guerrero, Puebla,
Michoacan,
Tamaulipas. I didn't take Spanish. I took German.
Guanajuato.
Guanajuato, Zacatecas, Durango, and San Luis Poste.
Yeah, what they said.
Why not?
Also, the mezcaleros just makes you think we are the 3 mezcaleros.
Oh, so good. But yeah, so they're like, nah, if it ain't from these states, ain't mezcal.
You gotta have rules somewhere.
And there are many, many rules about mezcal. Let's hear more about these rules.
Yes. So the types of mezcal. Certified mezcal is defined and classified by a Norma Oficial Mexicana, NOM, on
Chomsky.
mezcal.
Nom nom nom.
Noam Chomsky. He had to step in on this, and we needed linguistic anthropologists.
Per the norm and tradition alike, all mezcal is 100% agave/maguey.
Mogwai.
No other sugar source may be added during fermentation.
Got that? No other sugar source.
The norm establishes 3 categories of mezcal, which are broken down further into 6 classes.
It's a full school day.
So, mezcal, just straight up mezcal. First category is referred to by some critics as, quote, industrial mezcal, since it allows for modern production methods imported from the tequila industry. At the extreme, these mezcals can be produced by cooking the agave in autoclaves, extracting the juice with a diffuser, and distilling in a stainless steel column.
That's extreme and
Sounds horrible.
just can't be allowed.
I can't hear autoclave without thinking of MASH.
But to be said, when we get to these, I looked and I wanted ancestral. I wanted it real bad, and I only found 2 bottles. And after conversing with Casey, because we were both drawn to this, reviews are not positive for the brands that we can find here that are ancestral. So I was like, man.
Well, next up, so ancestral's the last, but next up is artisanal mezcal. The vast majority of certified mezcal falls into this category. The use of autoclaves, diffusers, and column stills still prohibited. Not good times. Now, the ancestral. In the category, the maguey must be pit cooked and mallet crushed or stone milled. Distillation must be in clay pots, and stainless steel is prohibited.
Tell me you don't want to try that. That's as close to the earth and original as it can be. And I'm like, man, I want to try that.
Mm-hmm.
From what I read, if you're paying less than $100 a bottle, it's not the real stuff.
Yeah.
Because the process is so small batch, that's the only way they can afford to make it. It's so labor intensive.
You literally have to be in Mexico probably to get
That's kind of what I thought when I was looking. I was like, because the bottles, Casey and I saw the same thing, and it's in clay bottles even. And you're like, oh, this feels real. And before I could even look it up, Casey's like, no, already did. Don't.
Don't do it.
Do they have in these clay pots? Do they have 11 herbs and spices?
Apparently, no. That's not allowed.
Sure. The colonel was down there with them. They were doing peyote, and
I can totally see this.
Things got a little out of hand. They got a little wild, and then we ended up with a new fried chicken recipe. So,
yeah. Well, all right. So we covered the categories, but now the classes. So
why am I not making mezcal marinated chicken?
Oh, do it. Oh, do it.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Just fry that fry that up in some mezcal.
Get the mezcal with some limes, maybe a little bit of orange, like a mojo sauce type thing going on.
Always limes.
No.
Cilantro.
You
Don't
get that crap.
Don't ruin it.
Get that crap out of here. Get that soapy weed out of here.
Look, half this podcast can have cilantro without tasting soap, and
If you look at the video, it's literally divided in the middle.
we've been segregated.
Cilantro versus not.
The other half smells the asparagus in their pee. So,
Oh, I smell asparagus.
I never smell asparagus in my pee.
I can nibble a stalk of asparagus, and then I can smell like my perfumed urine for days. And I'm just like, oh, it's so bad.
I want a monk episode where someone that doesn't know that asparagus pee smells weird,
and that's how they track out a killer.
Gets caught. Like they had dinner with someone, and the meal was asparagus on the plate, and then they're having questions at a urinal. Like the day after.
This would have to be a different detective. Monk would not be having.
He wouldn't be at a urinal next to anybody.
He would if he had to, but
that's
what makes the situation awkward, and that's even more of the play there. But yes, there's
Okay,
something
so he has
there.
to go up. It's such the intense awkwardness because he has to go up to a urinal and pretend to have
Without touching it.
Yeah.
There's like a jump back moment, I'm
He's-
sure, where
he's
he
there,
thinks
like-
he almost touched it.
He's there, like with his elbows, trying to like hit the lever to flush, and
The largest bottle of hand sanitizer you've ever seen.
There's nature on my hand.
That's the best thing that's ever happened.
Tony Shalhoub was so good at that.
He was like, it was so great. It was like, oh, you thought he peaked with wings? No.
He thought he peaked with Men in Black, getting his head shot off.
We all know how much that stings. He just after that
He
he
didn't
looks
put the two and two together.
You realize that was Tony Shalhoub? Because that always blew my mind.
I was just like, that guy's familiar looking. I know him from something.
He's so sweaty when the head grows back, and it's so off-putting. Even like a kid me was like, that's gross. He looks so sweaty that
All right.
He's also fantastic in Galaxy Quest. Let's just
yeah.
where he
Everyone is. I mean, it's Galaxy Quest.
even Tim Allen actually learned how to act in that movie. There's a one quick aside, we can get back to it, but there's a great line from Alan Rickman where he was like, apparently on set in that there was a moment where Tim Allen, after his scene, like walked off, was like, I don't feel well. I'm like processing a lot of emotions right now. After like he went back to his trailer to calm down. And Alan Rickman just there going, I believe that man has finally discovered how to act. And I was like, that is some ice cold hilarious.
Alan Rickman was a fucking treasure. Oh god.
World treasure. Okay.
R.I.P.
Classes of Mezcal. Let's go. First one.
Classes in
Blanco.
session.
Blanco or Hoven? Question mark.
Golven or well, it's not.
It's not.
Norwegian.
We're not
I was gonna,
in the Swedish areas.
look, because I looked at that and I immediately went, is that Jotun? Nope.
Jotunheim.
Jotunheim.
Obviously. This is unaged and unadulterated. Vast majority of Mezcal falls into this class. So Madurado and Vidiro is the next one. Matured in glass. That's a great name.
That's what they call my beer sitting in that closet.
Mezcal stored in glass for over 12 months underground or somewhere with minimal variation of light.
Some
and
of mine's
temperature.
up to 5 years.
Storing in glass, especially buried underground, is a traditional practice that softens the mezcal over time without lowering the alcohol content.
Chris, I discovered while cleaning out a closet of this apartment some baba with chocolate sea salt, and I don't know how old it is.
Because they haven't brewed that in a while.
They brewed it recently, but I think it's from older than that one. That or I bought a lot. I don't know which.
What would that even taste like? It's just syrup at this point.
A delicious salty syrup.
Anyway.
So the next couple are ones that we're pretty used to with other agave related beverages. Reposado. Mezcal, quote, rested in a wood vessel of any type or size for between 2 and 12 months. And then we have añejo, mezcal aged in any type of wood vessel of less than 1,000 liters for more than a year. So next step up. And then we have this avocado, which just sounds like I'm saying avocado wrong. Flavored or infused mezcal. The norm specifically permits maguey, quote, worms, damiana, lime, orange, mango, and honey.
They allow it being flavored by Dalmatians.
Yeah.
I'm more like, oh, okay, yeah. The flavor of this tequila is worm.
Yum. Yeah, other fruits, herbs, and caramel are also common additions. That could be good.
Can you buy that in a coffee syrup at Starbucks?
Avocado, you get the Colonel's avocado.
Oh no, I'm thinking the worm. I would like the latte with the worm syrup.
I mean, isn't there that there's that Starbucks that actually has alcohol? is
I
that?
want that
Oh, yeah.
lime orange mango honey caramel chicken. Oh,
All right, the final one is destilado con distilled
Di-
with.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my brain immediately just went like distillado.
no.
Why don't you drink away your senses?
Yes, otherwise known as mezcales de puchuga. In this traditional process, a second or third distillation is done with other ingredients in the still itself. These may include regional fruits, meat, herbs,
Chicken.
etc.
Chicken.
Chicken and it's 11 herbs and spices. Come on, we'll just
This
crack this code.
I'm like, wait, hold on.
dis- distillado con canal.
We just cracked this code that
Pollo.
Pollo, yeah.
Sanders went down south of the border. They were doing some of the good stuff, doing some peyote.
The mescaladores. They distill now only in pure white suits.
With bolo tie.
Polo ties.
I concur.
All right, let's. God, I want this shirt. I want to see a bottle of the Colonel's fried mezcal.
I'm just
Casey?
picturing a shirt or something with like one of those flat art pieces with like the Colonel, but he's got like a sombrero on or something, or I don't know, just drinking the tequila straight up or
He's-
mezcal.
I wonder-
He's wearing the poncho. That's
Yeah, yeah,
that's
but still with the little like tie thing.
yeah. There's still
Yeah.
the bolo tie on top of it.
Ready to like draw guns with you.
Draw drumsticks.
Ooh. The wing has a much more gun-like shape.
Mm.
Holstered drumsticks.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how mezcal is produced. So the description we're going to talk about is more focused on the artisanal artisan, or the ancestral method of making mezcal in Oaxaca. But
Oaxaca.
if you were to do the commercial version, it's going to be as kind of we read it before, but then think, hey, it's commercial distillation. You're using large column stills, most likely. You're using all the things that make mezcal basically a neutral grain spirit, and then add back maybe even some flavoring. I think was kind of like, well, maybe not flavoring, but yeah, you can do additives on mezcal. Sorry, that's tequila.
Yeah, no, you're not doing additives on mezcal.
Yeah. So, you're probably doing some of that blending method where
Ain't no corn syrup going into mezcal, baby.
that's right.
That goes on
So-
the pancakes.
When we're talking about the traditional methods, though, the magwai is the preferred term for agave in Oaxaca.
Don't know if magua is the preferred term for it.
Now,
So the norm allows any type of this fruit. What was it? It's the la pina, right? That's what they would call, right?
Yeah.
So this root, I don't know, stalk.
Sorry, I'm also picturing
you
like
call
blue agave that you're using, like because mom used to like have aloe that you would break off for like burns, and I'm just picturing someone doing that with like agave.
yeah.
Sure. I would. You
Little
do that
too
for pancakes. Just
Sticky.
break that agave off and dump some of that delicious sugary nectar right on them.
Yeah, agave pancakes. Well, anyways, the norm allows any type of this plant, there we go, to be used to make mezcal. It's generally believed that there are close to about 40 maguey, sure, varietals with enough potentially fermentable carbohydrates to be a viable source of mezcal. I'm assuming that means that there are some that are too vegetal and don't have enough actual
So,
content.
in my research, basically treat those as you would hop varietals, and that is
Mhm.
exactly what's going on in the artisanal mezcals right now. Like they are starting to germinate and produce new kinds that are giving like all this wild array of flavors. So mezcal's like literally in that, what are we going to call it, like late 90s beer phase. where shit's about to get wild.
Yeah, so heavy in on mezcal. I mean, if any part of the alcohol industry is going to grow, this may be it. So
Fully am behind it.
at this point, for sure. There's definitely a lot more on the shelf than I would have seen 2 years ago, even.
There's an entire aisle at Party Source of mezcals. I was blown away by that. I was hoping for like 3 or 4, and I was just like bogged down with choice.
Well, the maguey will be cultivated, semi-wild, or could even be wild. In Oaxaca, the agave espadin, A. angustifolia Hall. So I'm guessing the A it's the scientific name, but it would be probably agave angustifolia, and then the sub variety would be Hall.
Aspergillus angustifolia.
Is it aspergillus?
I don't know.
So
I was just
aspergillus is mold, I think. So
yeah.
it would be. So I want to know, like, once it's back to Brittany's section here in just a minute. I'm going to go research that. It's the most common and nearly always farmed. Truly wild magueys are. How are we saying it? Because I'm going to have to use this word over and over again. So I want to make sure I'm getting at least close.
Or not, but
We
that's.
do not know.
I had
Okay.
Again, I have no background in Spanish, so like I was.
Magwise.
1 second.
You tell me.
Maguey.
I literally almost typed in in Google Translate. I literally almost typed in Mexican.
Guas. While you're looking for that, many of the wild
Magueyes.
Magayas.
Okay.
Huh.
Magay.
So not Maguey at all.
No.
Yeah.
Magueyes.
Again.
All right. Well, many of the wild varieties of these are rapidly disappearing in Oaxaca, although it's less of an issue in other mezcal producing states. Semi-wild magueyas are planted from seed or hijuelo,
Hijuelo.
and left to fend for themselves until they are harvested years later. Maturation times vary depending on the species, between 5 and 25 years. So that's, I mean, let me just leave this last sentence, then we'll go from there. In Oaxaca, maguey is usually harvested with machetes.
Machete.
So hops, you're about 3 years from plant to deciding, is this something we want to keep? Like deciding the flavor's right or the yield is right. Like
Yeah.
maturity is really about 3 years in. 5 years before you harvest at a minimum. And you're trying to figure out, and you're breeding these and saying, oh yeah, I'll breed these two together and it makes a really much better one. You won't know potentially until 25 years down the road. Oh yeah, this is looking.
Yeah, that's why like whatever, like everything that's happening nowish, it was set in motion decades ago.
Yep.
It's not like with beer with the hops where it can turn on a dime.
Mm.
It's like, no, these are turtles crawling to this finish line. People have been working a long time, like lifetimes, to achieve these flavor profiles.
Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, whole families have basically been like, oh yeah, we're trying out these different types, and maybe this is the one that we like, but if not, son, then good luck. You have your chance. It's generational in that regard, I guess. So that's the harvest side of it. Now, moving on from harvest into the next stage, you're looking at the cooking. So artisanal and ancestral mezcal is cooked in an earthen or stone-lined underground pit. A bonfire is built at the base of the pit, and after the fire dies down, the stones are piled up on the red-hot embers. These stones are themselves covered with wet agave fiber. The pit is then filled with maguey. Maguey, I lost it. Which are piled several feet above the ground level. So you got a pile, a mound, if you will. And this mound is covered with straw, mats, or tarps, and then buried in the earth. So that heat radiating from the stones cooks the maguey over the course of several days. It's just kind of, it's a heat blanket keeping everything in there, and all the
FYI, that's just traditionally how anything was cooked all across the world in pre-civilization.
I mean, I still love a good pig roast. So
Yeah.
throw one of them babies in the ground.
Oh, that's what was it? There was a show where they finally, it was with Anthony Bourdain. He went somewhere and they cooked a pig like that. And that he was just like, this is the most amazing pig I've ever had. He's like, pork holds, like this is it. And it's like, yeah, it is the ultimate slow roast.
Yes, in its own juices, and the juices that burn are smoky onto itself again. Deliciousness.
The jus.
Now that we've cooked the agave and softened up the actual plant, it is then removed from the oven and cooled and then sorted. It must be crushed. Now, so maceration with a mule-drawn stone wheel, Egyptian or Chilean mills, and mechanical shredders are both common. Ancestral mezcals are crushed by hand with large wooden mallets. When the agave has been completely pulverized into a fiber and wet pulp, it's ready then and only then for fermentation.
Seeing this though from like for the ancestral, like how labor intensive, I get the price, and when I was willing to pay it to find one
Right.
that was legit. I was like, I am willing to pay this because it's like that. We have a friend who's like, for his birthday every year, he likes to go to like a real expensive coffee place in Cincinnati where it's like, no, it's my birthday. I want to watch someone have to put the work into my coffee.
He wants to watch someone suffer for his coffee.
Exactly.
Which, in fairness, happens with every cup of coffee he has normally.
He doesn't get to watch.
He doesn't get to watch, but
oh no, you can. If you do like the full thing to the pour over, you watch them and like hand grind the beans and then bring the pour over out. And I don't mean like put it in the machine and they like
the grinder box.
The whole situation.
They got to bring the whole grinder box and they got to come out and do the pour over at your table in front of you. And he's like, I want the full thing.
imagine them getting like the chicha or whatever.
Yeah.
They got to chew it up and spit it out in front of you.
And then you look at them like a baby bird and lap it up. Oh, gosh.
Oh. Well, let's change that subject. Fermentation. So, of course, to make alcohol, you need the fermentation aspect. And the crushed maguey will ferment, I got it, naturally with the addition of water. Fermentation generally takes 1 to 4 weeks, depending on factors like sugar content, temperature, altitude, frequency of fermentation in that palinque, and proximity to livestock. Wonderful. Yeah, great to hear that one.
How close are you to that cow's poop?
Oh, use of commercial or even proprietary yeast is very rare and actually frowned upon. Most mezcal is fermented by the ambient yeast and microbes endemic to that palinque. Fermentation vats are usually made of wood, but stone, concrete, animal hide, and even plastic are also used. All of those, take note, are porous materials and will absorb that bacteria, yeast, everything that you're using in fermentation, and let it go batch to batch like the magic stick of yore.
Yep. Redistribute it.
So a traditional mezcalero will watch, listen to, smell, touch, and taste the fermenting mash more frequently as the sugar content drops and alcohol rises. The Mastero's 5 senses are the instruments used to determine when fermentation is completed.
I couldn't stop my brain because all I could think of was, as the alcohol rises. I'm just doing a Bane voice.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, I know. At this point, it has become an obscure reference because it's been so long since that movie came out.
Man, don't remind me. I've been watching a lot of breakdowns and rehashing of the original Batman movies. And it's like, oh, those are so good. And it's like when you take in everything from the time, like everything Batman before the Tim Burton Batman movies was just the campy 60s BS.
Well,
and how redefined, like, so I couldn't even as like, I couldn't compartmentalize it to the point that you got to realize that Dark Knight Returns comics happened before the Tim Burton movies.
Yes.
like-
Also,
Batman went dark before that.
yeah, Batman had already been on a path of getting dark before that. Of Denny O'Neil and a few others working on it in the 70s to distance itself from the Biff Bam Pow of the 60s. But
No.
Yeah.
Distillation.
Mhm.
So the fermented maguey juice, fiber and all, is now loaded into a still. In Oaxaca, there are 3 primary types of stills. The copper alembic still. The vast majority of artisanal mezcals use this one. Alembics with refrescadero, a kind of mini column common to the Miahuatlan.
Sounds right.
And so-called Filipino clay pot stills. Mezcal may be distilled once, twice, or 3 times, but double distillation is the norm in Oaxaca and most of Mexico. The first distillation yields an impure liquid called ordinario, común, or shishi.
Yeah.
Shishi?
depending on the region.
Sheshe? Depending on the region. Thank you. I thought you were just like making a comment there. The liquid is distilled a second time, and then at that point, mezcal is born.
And
Hiwa-
cigars are handed out. Backs are slapped.
The mezcal cries. It is christened.
Guess you're getting wine from that, like technically like a mezcal wine, or beer and then wine, beer, wine. If you were looking at the way we kind of classify other distillates, so
If you go for the-
Mezcal wine.
If you go for that third, it's the dragon's milk. What is it? What's the one?
triple
Yeah, the
mash.
mash. Where they're like, we made you a beer, but then we made a beer from your beer and decided to make another beer from that.
Then we turned it all into a bourbon.
It's like making coffee with coffee instead
Uh-huh.
of water.
Use the caffeinated water to make your coffee, and then use that coffee to make coffee.
There you go.
And then you can use that to make oatmeal.
Meth.
I use that to make instant oatmeal when I have to work out of town. And then you're just like wired. Like, I'm eating caffeine. Ah.
All right.
I had to look up because we've said it a few times now, and I'm like, this is not correct at all. I know it isn't. The one that starts with an O with the X in it.
Oh,
It's Oaxaca.
That's what Casey was saying.
Oh, well, I never heard that. Sorry. I clearly suck.
No, you're fine.
I was like fixated on the spelling of it, and I'm like, everything's wrong in my world. Okay.
Oaxaca.
So these are 3 Oaxaca mezcal distilleries of note.
The original Haktua girl.
God.
The Oaxaca Tua girl.
Oaxaca
Christ.
too.
Yeah. So mezcal, Fane Cancini? Question mark. Part of a mezcal cooperative called Tres Colibri. That word is headed by Master Mezcalera Sosima Oliveira Aguilar.
You're doing what I did, and you're adding
I know. I'm just adding all the
vowels.
extra vowels.
like
in the
it's
end, 'cause
not
we're like,
Welsh.
oh, it's Spanish. So I just need to throw extra. And it was like, no.
part of a growing community of female producers fighting for gender equality in Oaxaca male-dominated mezcal industry. Then we have La Candelaria, located in Santa Catarina, Minas. La Candelaria is where Eduardo Lalo Angeles, I'm so sorry, produces his acclaimed mezcal La Locura, distilled exclusively in clay pots. Espadin, Tepesdate, and Hechuca. The latter, a type of mezcal that's distilled with a raw chicken breast inside,
There it is.
are usually available for tastings. But
we're,
why?
We're hitting it. That's it. That's the kernels. That's the kernels. We got to get that. Write that down, somebody. We got to find this. It's the kernels mezcal right there.
We don't have to write it down. You wrote it down. This is your script.
The Pechuga. Yeah. Okay.
I was drunk when I wrote it.
I mean, y'all have this mezcal. See what happens. So the last
brand.
one, gracias a Dios.
Thank you, too.
Santiago Matatlan. I never know the A with the accent mark over it. I got nothing. Dubbed the world capital of mezcal, is where you'll find Gracias a Dios, a sustainability-focused palenque that uses recycled bottles and corks, irrigates 60% of its fields using rainwater, and plants about 5,000 trees a year.
Nice.
Good job. All right.
Thank you and goodbye.
Gracias a Dios. And it's like
It sounds like something you're going to hear on like a
Vaya
stereotypical.
Vaya con Dios.
I adios, not. Yeah.
Look, I was trying to find like a topical thing to play for this episode, and I just found myself on a loop of watching King of the Hill. One of those of the bad Spanish language things that are always on TV in King of the Hill.
Thank God. Gracias a Dios. Thank God.
God. Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
so you would hear it in one of those like, I'm going to say the wrong word. What is it called?
Telenovela?
Yes, telenovela. Yeah,
Telenovela.
Yeah, the Spanish soap opera.
Yeah, the King of the Hill is the one that's got like the evil priest.
He's not evil. He's like a secret agent.
Yeah,
he's always
something.
loyal
Yeah,
to the cartel, and that's the only line he ever says. Vaya con Dios.
Dios. I could never tell if he was supposed to be evil or what was going on in those bits. I just kept seeing.
I mean, he's always killing people.
Right.
Best one is when he's the secret bride.
Yes, that's the.
And they flip the veil back. He goes, Vaya con Dios. Pulls out a double barrel shotgun and blows the guy.
All right, we need to wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
Do we? I need another drink. I gotta.
Well, it's convenient because it's time to talk about what you're drinking.
Sparkling Muscatel, one of the finest wines of Idaho. Would you taste it for us, please? Excellent choice. Should be for 95 cents.
We should have at least I should have had the Three Caballeros thing ready or something. I don't know.
I just need to know
What
kind of life has Miss Piggy lived where a 95-cent bottle of wine and she feels like she's really getting treated.
Yeah.
Poor Miss Piggy.
She was
With that frog,
She trusts Kermit.
She was the smallest and most overlooked pig in her litter, and was determined to be not to be overlooked again, and that is her actual canonical backstory.
Oh, I believe it. I believe you have this backstory of Miss Piggy down. I know your Muppet knowledge.
Fair. All right, Chris, Brittany, what are you guys drinking?
We are drinking. I don't know how to say it. U-Ball. YUUBAAL.
You sure you're not drinking D's nuts?
No, those were at the counter where you checked out.
Look up how to say this.
So this is a Mezcal artisanal. Like I said, I wanted an ancestral, and they only had 2 bottles from the same brand, and Casey came across the same thing, and reviews were not polite. So passed on that. This is a Reposado at 48%. It was rested. By being a Reposado, I know it's rested from 2 to 12 months. It does not state on the bottle what the resting period is. All I know is I'm going to come out and say, this is flipping delicious. And this is the Southern Hemisphere's Scotch. Amazing.
Well, if we've discovered anything, it's that the key to getting us to enjoy tequila is to make it like bourbon or make it like a
Yeah.
whiskey.
So the bottled estate, this was aged in American white oak. Or rested. I guess that seemed to be a thing in the verbiage for Reposado. They all just say rested. There's no aged. Like when you move up to añejo, then it's like, oh yeah, it's aged. But anything before that, it's like it rested. I'm like, oh, okay, so like you put it in a barrel and like you gave the distillate time to settle instead of sloshing around, and then you're like, all right, drain it.
I mean, maybe.
Technically.
Either way, it worked, and this is like I said, it's.
Wasn't there a technical bourbon that did that, where like they just poured bourbon through a straw, poured whiskey in the straw,
Yeah,
had it hit a barrel and then come out the other side?
that well, it's the that was the Metallica one, wasn't it? They
Something
threw
like
it
that, yeah.
They threw it in the barrel and vibrated it.
Oh, I was thinking of something else. Yeah, literally someone just like crazy strawing something through a. Anyway, Brittany, are you enjoying it?
Yes, very much.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going crazy because I'm like super excited about sleep, but
It's tequila scotch, and I couldn't be happier.
it's very good.
And it was on
another-
sale, which made me now I'm just like ecstatic.
Nice.
It was a very good price for like a full load of it. I'm like, yeah,
I'm trying to look up how to say this brand.
U-Ball.
U-Ball.
Definitely not it. Like I'm like a shot in the dark. Like
I mean, the name does have that registered trademark circle R at the end, so I just want to call it U-Baller.
That's what I think it's meaning. Like, yeah, it's not like D's nuts, which would also make it great.
All right. Well, I'm drinking. I did not have time to find any mezcal. We're still trying to unpack. My life is chaos. But there's a dog that needs constant walking now, which, in fairness, I kind of love. So, I just grabbed some like all my alcohol was in boxes, so I went into a box and pulled out some Espolon Tequila Blanco. It's what is the proof of this? 40. It's 40% ABV, 80 proof. So we've had it before. We know it. We love it, and that's all I'm having.
So when I was looking today, I don't know what this is a sign of. Espolon is now a behind the counter liquor. At Party Source, they have yanked all of it off the shelf and they just have a sign up that says it's all behind the counter. So I don't know if this is like it's suddenly the secret's out. If it's one of those things where on the show we've reported like, hey, this is amazing and a deal, and suddenly the secret gets out.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh. So like it was the McKenna 10-year and now the Espolon. Which if you're loyal listeners of this show, you are years ahead of the curve because our whole episode on Tequila Espolon was like what, 5 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
You say 5. It may feel like 5. It's probably closer to like 6, 7, 8 at this point.
Oh yeah,
the way life goes.
Basically, you were not in the house you're in now. I'll say that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
We've been here at least 5 years.
Yeah.
God, really?
Almost 6, because we moved when we were getting when Ashley was pregnant.
What is time?
Yep.
Casey, since you're talking, what are you drinking?
I am drinking U-Ball. So
excited it's
It's
U-Ball.
just
You
not,
might-
I can't find.
No, you're not. They're both here in my pants.
Yeah, boy.
This was one that as I was just like digging through and looking, this was kind of up at the front of the store near other tequilas in a locked glass case. And I was like, oh, that fancy. And not only was it fancy, it was a half bottle and a little bit lower price because it was a half bottle. So I was like, okay, I'm not drinking mezcal all the time. I'm not drinking that much all the time now. So I'm like, let me get a little bit less of something that's really nice. And that's kind of the direction I went. So this one's the U-Ball Hoven or Joven. And then
Joven.
it's the Madra Kushi. Madra Kuishi? Madre Kuishi. Magwai Madre Kuishi. Anyways, that's the like varietal of
Mhm.
the tequila plant or the agave plant is the Madre Kuhushi or Kurishi. This one is a Blanco style, so it's 30 days from cutting of the maguey to in the bottle. The yeast is ambient yeast. It's done double distilled in copper stills with well water added. The mixture of roasting woods for it is holm oak, pine, and other species. It says so. Kind of just a basic. Here's just wood, nothing special there. It is from the Santa Maria La Pila village in Oaxaca, and the agave is the agave variety is Karwinski. It's 12 to 14 years old. Harvested with a machete and cooked in a concave stone oven and crushed by hand with a wooden mallet.
Well, all right.
Fermented in pine wooden vats. Deliciousness. Tastes of a little fresher, not as super smoky, but it's also not an aged tequila, really. So,
Mhm.
or sorry, mezcal.
Yeah.
Slap my hand.
All right.
Bob, how about you?
We already talked about mine.
Did we?
Yeah, I went before you. I always
Oh, yes, you did.
I always do.
Our
But-
beloved bourbon treatment to agave.
Right. The Espolon.
I just thought we were talking about it at first.
No, no worries. Today's episode is written by Chris, using sources from Pensador Mescal, Experience Agave, National Geographic, and Vine Pair.
National Geographic was only able, I just have to say, they were, of all the things they could contribute to this, it was just the notable distilleries.
Mm.
I'm just like, are you serious, National Geographic? No one else has this information, but come on, man.
And images of topless women making mezcal, because that's National Geographic for you.
Well, it's been a fun episode, but I think it's time for us to ride on out of here. Casey, you got anything for us?
Well, they can subscribe and get some great resources at haveadrinkshow.com. Follow us at Have a Drink Show on social media and on YouTube TV.
Don't forget, you can tell us your favorite drink, ask a question, or just leave some general feedback. You can use the email address feedback@haveadrinkshow.com. Use the feedback page on the website. Or, sit there in the silence of your room, meditate, take some deep breaths in and out, and send your thought out into the ether. We will not hear it. That won't do anything.
All joking,
But it might get you better.
all joking fun aside, I'd like to remind everyone to please drink responsibly. And
Yes.
Yeah, when you're sending messages out into the ether, also do that responsibly.
Don't be super high. Yeah, so check us out again.
Remember, this is worm country, not bat country.
Check us out again next month for the next episode. Not even recall what the topic is at this point.
Remember, we are your monthly visitor. We are Aunt Flo.
This is great.
When you hear us, it is time.
Indeed. So remember to check out haveadrinkshow.com and on the store on there and yeah, all that stuff. Once again, I'm Brittany Lee Walker.
I'm Justin Frazier.
I'm Christopher Walker.